Okay, so let's get started here on making a panoramic stitched photograph using Photoshop CS5. And the first thing you need to see is that I've opened up a number of images across the top here. And these are all photos taken, obviously a lake scene. And we're going to put these all together to form the panoramic image. Probably the very first thing you need to know is that when you take these images, you need to make sure that there's some overlapping area. So if we take a look at this first one that's up here, and you go over here on the left-hand side, you'll see that we have this home down here with this kind of neat boathouse on the lake. And if we go to the image just prior to that, you'll see that over here on the extreme right-hand side is that same boathouse. So it's really important that we have an overlapping area. The other thing that's important is to try to maintain the camera in as close to a level position as you can. A tripod is strongly recommended. So the very first thing we're going to do is we're going to check the image size here. I'm going to go to Image up at the top and Image Size, and I'm going to make sure I turn off this Resample Image checkbox. And you can see that this particular image is basically 8 by 12 inches at 356 pixels per inch. We want to know what that is so that we can kind of anticipate what the size of the final panoramic is going to be. And I have 4 images I'm going to stitch together. 4 images at 12, roughly speaking 12 inches each, is going to come out to about 48 inches long. So all we wanted to do is see that, which we now know that they're 8 by 12s. And I'm going to start by selecting the entire picture area. So the entire image is selected, and now we're going to go up to the top here and hit Edit, and then Copy to copy that to the clipboard. And now that we've copied that image, we need to make a new canvas, again anticipating what the size of our next image is going to be. So I'm going to go up here and hit File and New. And because we already copied that, it memorizes that the last image was 356 pixels per inch, which is good. And we're not going to measure this in pixels, we're going to measure it in inches, so we're going to click there. And again, we're going to stitch together 4 8 by 12s, so that means it's roughly 48 inches long. And each image is 8 inches high, but I'm going to put this at 11 inches just in case we need to kind of muddle around with positioning of one of those images. And we'll click OK, and you can see that is our new image. Alright, so we have our new canvas now up, and what we're going to do is we're going to paste the image that we just copied into that canvas. So I'm going to hit Edit and then Paste, and there it is. I'm going to grab the Move tool up here in the top left hand corner, and I'm going to take this image and kind of slide it down towards the right. Great. Okay, so there's the first of our panoramic stitch on our new canvas. So now all we need to do is go up here and grab our second one. And again, it is currently selected. So we're going to hit Edit and Copy. We're going to go back to that new canvas, which is called Untitled 1 up here at the top. And we're going to hit Edit and then Paste. And there is the second image. And you can see these two boathouses again, and they're overlapping a little bit, which is good. Notice that I haven't done any kind of correction to these images at all. As I'm looking at them on the monitor, they look like they might be a little bit dark. You know, I haven't applied an unsharp mask, any of that stuff at all. We're not going to do that until everything is stitched together, and then we'll make any kind of retouching or corrections on the entire panoramic. I think what I want to do is I want to magnify this area here so that we can see that it goes together more nicely. So I'm going to grab the magnify tool over here, and the little plus sign is in the center of it, so we know it's going to magnify or increase it. And then I'm just going to press and hold the space bar and just kind of slide this over a little bit, like so. Alright, it's probably going to be helpful for us if we see layers over here, so I'm just going to click on the layers, and you can see we have layer 2 and layer 1. And I'm going to grab the Move tool, and I'm going to bring layer 2 over so it starts to overlap the other image. And you can see that they're kind of getting close. A couple things we need to do here right off the bat. You'll see sometimes, see how this kind of jumps and snaps to the outside of the other document? We want to turn that feature off. So we're going to click on the word View up at the top here, and we're going to uncheck the little box by snap. And now you can move it freely, and it's not going to jump to try to realign itself automatically with anything. And then the other thing we're going to do is layer 2, the one that we're moving here, we're going to reduce the opacity on that temporarily so that we can see through that image. So I just took it down to 58%. And now you can see those two boathouses. So I'm just going to try to nudge this image over a little bit. And instead of dragging it with a mouse, I'm actually using the arrows on the keyboard. And we want to try to get these so that they line up pretty close to the same. And now I will tell you that theoretically you don't have to do this. You can let Photoshop do it all for you. However, I have always found that you get a much better stitch if you try to get it closely aligned first before you ask Photoshop to do anything. And I think those are pretty close, so I'm going to bring that opacity back up to 100% now. And just to kind of take a look at what things are like, I'm going to hit the visibility or the eyeball on layer 2 and turn it off and on. And what I'm looking at is I'm looking to see that that boathouse doesn't move a lot, and it doesn't. It canters just a little bit, but things are pretty close. Okay, so I have that second layer lined up pretty nicely with the first. So what I'm going to do now is highlight both of those layers, and we do that by pressing and holding the Control key on the keyboard and then clicking on layer 1. So you'll see that they're both in blue. And we're going to go all the way up at the top here where it says Edit, and we're going to hit Auto Blend Layers. We're going to tell it to do it in the panoramic mode and hit OK. So it's going through its process now to try to figure out how to align things appropriately and then where to cut them so that there's not severe overlapping. And again, if you do a little bit of the work yourself, you'll usually find that Photoshop does a really nice job here. Okay, it's all done, and if you take a look over here in our layers palette, you'll see a couple masks, and that kind of indicates where it is that they're stitched together. As you look at the monitor now, you probably can't tell where they're stitched, but I always like to get a sense of how good a job it does. So I'm going to turn off the visibility on layer 1, and you can see that little jaggedy pathway that Photoshop chose. And it tries to choose one that makes it the easiest blending. You see, as an example, it intentionally did not cut right through the middle of the house, which is kind of neat. So I turn that off and on a couple times just so that I can see that everything is lining up appropriately. And if it looks like it is, then we're going to merge these two layers together. So I'm going to highlight just the top layer, and I don't want to flatten it. I want to hit merge visible. And the reason I don't want to flatten it is because I want to add another image to this panoramic yet to make it even a little bit longer. As it's merging these two together, you will notice that one image is a little bit lower than the other, even though it lined up nicely here on the waterline. I think I had mentioned to everyone, make sure that you try to keep the camera as level as possible. But when you do that, as you spin the camera around in a 360-degree type manner, things aren't going to line up vertically exactly the same way all the time. Alright, so I'm going to keep it magnified. I'm sliding that one over, and I'm going to go up here and grab the next image in the panoramic. Again, it is already selected. We're going to hit Edit and Copy. And then we're going to go into Untitled 1, which is our panoramic, and we're going to hit Edit and Paste. I'll move this one just a little bit, and again, you'll see that we have this house that's overlapping, which is good. I am going to reduce the opacity of this top layer. I'm going to move this over and try to get this house kind of lined up the way I think it should be. And again, I'm going to use my arrow buttons on the keyboard to try to get it in exactly the right spot. And we're going to try to get it as close as we can. And then increase the opacity back up to 100%. As before, I'm going to turn the visibility on and off on that top layer a couple times just to see how things are lining up. And if you take a look right down here at the shoreline, you'll see that they're not lining up perfectly. So I'm going to just nudge that down a little bit. Let's do this again now. Yeah, that's pretty good. Again, there's a little bit of cantering, but Photoshop's going to stitch that together pretty nicely. So press and hold the control key, highlight layer 2, hit edit, auto blend layers, choose the panoramic blend method, hit OK, let Photoshop do its thing, and then when it does, we'll have those masks appear up here in our layers palette. We'll turn the visibility on and off on one of those masks just to see that things stitched together pretty nicely. You do need to be a little bit cautious. You'll notice that I probably overlapped about 25% of the image area. Sometimes when you overlap a lot more than that, Photoshop begins to have a hard time doing the stitching. Alright, so there we are. Everything looks to be lining up pretty nicely. You'll see that you have this little bit of a ragged line right in here. When we merge these two layers down, though, that's going to disappear. So I'm going to hit the top layer and then go layer, merge, down, and yes, we're going to hit apply so that it applies that panoramic stitching. Great. That's 3 of the images for the panoramic. I'm going to real quickly do one more, and then you will be ready to do your own. So I'm going to grab the extreme left or very first image. I'm going to hit select all to select the entire image, edit, copy, go over here to untitled, which is our panoramic, hit edit, paste. Again, look for some overlap, and here is this house and it overlaps here, so we're going to reduce the opacity on that top layer so it kind of bleeds through a little bit. Figure out exactly where it is this needs to go. Try to line it up as best we can. Bring that opacity back to 100%. Turn off the visibility of it just to see how it lines up. I'm going to nudge it to the right just a smidge. Yeah, I like that better. Okay. Highlight both layers, press and hold control, hit layer 2, edit, auto blend layers, panoramic method, hit OK. It's going to go ahead and blend these together. After it's all done doing that, I'm going to zoom out to see the entire image. I'm going to crop it appropriately, and then again after cropping we'll be able to go ahead and adjust our levels if need be, or our saturation if we want to, or any of those other neat things that we have already learned this semester. Now I'm going to turn the visibility off on layer 3 just to see where it's stitching, to make sure things look like they're put together pretty nicely, and they sure do. Highlight the top layer, hit layer, merge down, apply the masking from the panoramic, and there we go. Grab the zoom tool, press and hold the Alt key to change that plus to a minus so that we now zoom out. Alright, there is our panoramic. So now I'm going to grab the crop tool up here. You can see that it already had a width of 20 and a height of 16 dialed in, but we're going to clear that out completely because we just want this to be long and skinny. We don't want it to be proportional to a 16 by 20. And we are going to bring this across like so. So you can see that we lost a little bit on the bottom, a little bit on the top in that stitching, but that's okay. Hit the enter button, and now we have a nice 4-photo panoramic type photograph. And again, at this point, if you wanted to, you could go in and adjust levels on this, maybe brighten it up just a little bit and make our shadows a little bit deeper, maybe pop even the highlights some, although I don't like that the sky's getting too bright, so we'll just be a little cautious on that. So there you go. That is how you make your panoramic. As always, I hope you do something significantly more creative than what I've just done here. But you are all ready to go. Sorry I couldn't be with you guys, but keep up the good work, and I'll chat with you soon.